Senator Bergman seems to have this figured out. I mean, that he says just wasteful money. Are you trying to find out what happened, or should we go with what he says he knows what happened?
Well, it's the job of the Audit Commission. I've actually been on this for close to 2 decades. And we have, our job is to fix things going forward. Now, the commission is in the process of hearing from the agency. We heard first from Catrone, and he actually answered the questions very well. The Criminal Justice Information Authority has never had an audit finding against them because they actually verify and check everything. The predecessor agency, the Violence Prevention Authority, which the governor disbanded and gave to Catrone, who was actually very capable, was an aberration. It's probably one of the worst audits that I've seen in the 20 years. You don't give $20 million or $50 million to an agency of 11 people, some of which were part-time, to manage over 200 contracts and to structure this. So planning was bad, implementation was bad, and going forward, Mr. Catrone has put in place the criminal justice structure, which actually sends people out, checks on the money, makes sure if they don't perform to those levels, that money is clawed back.
Are you concerned, though, that this is going to become a political show here, as opposed to anything?
Sure. I mean, it can. That's the business that we're in here, and this audit itself gives rise to many levels of rainbows and unicorns, if you want to. I mean, that's my thing going forward is to fix stuff, and we've done this. We did the audits of the MSI. We did the audits that basically put away a former governor. And what we do here is fix things going forward. I have subpoena powers. I also have a telephone. I intend on calling those that were mentioned and asking them.
Frank, do you feel like you got to the bottom, or do you feel like you've gotten to the bottom of what went wrong here?
Oh, I think anyone who read the audits, I mean, and you know me, that I'm not normally up in front of the TVs. I was built for radio. But our people can read the audit and see 11 people implementing a program that started at $20 million, where it was escalated, and where things went wrong. Fixing those going forward is you don't allow the switching of appropriations. The Auditor General is 100% right. So from that point, we make sure that if you're going to give a lump sum budget, you put constraints. The General Assembly also had something to do this. We gave the governor $3 billion in 2 separate line items to be used at his discretion. If you want to start oversight, start there.
The senator says he wants to hear from Barbara Shaw, and if she doesn't come, he will seek a subpoena. Has there been agreement for her to come? Have you talked to her?
Not yet. Yeah, she actually has a phone number. You can call her, talk to her. And she said that she's willing to come and talk to the commission. When we did talk to her was on Friday. She said she probably couldn't be ready by Wednesday, but she's more than willing to come in.
When will the next meeting be, Frank?
I have to talk to Jason and find out when times are available for both House and Senate. I'm assuming we'll be out of here in a few days, and then we'll go.
Would it be before the election?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think that something like this is better to do sooner rather than later. It gets you the answers and hopefully stops political circuses that, you know, can lend themselves to issues. This is a screwed up audit. We know it's a screwed up audit. It can't happen going forward, and my focus is to make sure it doesn't.
So are you going to try to stop it from happening too soon before the election or near the election?
Whenever they're ready to go with it, I'm fine. I mean, that's and Jason and I work together pretty well, so we'll work that out with the rest of the members of the commission. I think sooner, rather than letting these things lay out there, is always better. You know, that would be my choice.
Why does the state continue to contract with vendors who owe the state money?
As far as the The vendors, that's the last question that he was talking about?
Yeah, and why can't the state garnish?
Well,
from
we
the
actually
vendor?
can. We have the comptroller's offset, which means if money is owed to the state of Illinois by someone that we're cutting a check to, and this could be you as an individual or any company that's out there, if we owe them money, we can deduct whatever is determined to go back. So we can do that through the comptroller's offset program.
It doesn't sound like that's being done, though.
Well, possibly that at this point in time, it hasn't been declared that the state is owed that money. It may be in violation of the contract, but it hasn't been set forward. And I don't know specifically, I hate guessing.
Are you familiar
That's-
with the General Assembly's requirement that the Chicago area project get $5 million a year? Is that for anti-violence programs? Is that for-
That's a budget item that would have been probably in Representative Arroyo's committee, so I don't know specifically on that grant line. But I mean, for the past 2 years, they probably had appropriations, and that's how that'd be structured.
Well, your co-chair made it sound like the governor's office is practicing obfuscation by sending the likes of Mr. Catrone, who Jason said didn't really have the answers.
Well, he has the answers for year 3 and for fixing things. 60% of all the people who appear before the Audit Commission is a director answering for an audit when he wasn't there. You know, that's just directors change, they come and go. With a failed program like this, the program was canceled. Maybe the ideas behind it still exist, as in job training for kids or whatever the good portions were. But most of the audits we hear, and you've been here for a lot of those, are of a director explaining an audit when he wasn't a director. Now, he has fixed things.
Dorothy Brown's name didn't come up during this hearing at all today, but yes,
I imagine that, I saw that from actually one of your articles, I think, so.
But I mean, are you comfortable with the fact that she sits in the budget committee, she chairs the budget committee of CJA, and she cast a vote for Chicago area project funding when her husband worked for Chicago area project?
Okay, that's again to the direct appropriations that I don't know about, so I would like to learn more before I comment, if that's okay. I mean, I can give you an answer, I just want to
But in
know
your
first.
gut, though, does that sound like a proper way to run a railroad?
Let me see exactly what's in there and whether she made any statements to that effect. I mean, there's a lot of things, you know, was a conflict. I don't know if a conflict was stated or unstated, so I don't know to guess.
What about
But
Benton Cook's involvement in this whole program?
Who?
Benton Cook, her husband.
Oh, okay, from the articles. Can I get back to you on that, just because I don't know enough about that piece? I've been concentrating on the failings of that program itself, and so I haven't looked into the ancillary. Right now, I'm specifically into how do we not have this happen again.
Will you ask Tony Irving to come?
I'll see what the members want to do. I mean, any of those folks, what's good is we have interviews for the auditors from every person mentioned
Do you have
amongst those
concerns
documents.
about Mr. Catrone talking about she choosing the year 3 vendors, apparently about the time that she was going to work for the Chicago area program?
Or that, again, I would have to check and see, just simply because the order might have been, we have a network in place, just leave it in place. And for Mr. Catrone, he didn't have the closeout information until almost 6 or 8 months after he took over.